Hello and welcome. You're watching Politics Today. I'm Deji Bademasi. Now, we all thought the issue of third term, which is now synonymous with the Chief Olusegun Obasanjo's administration, has actually gone into Nigeria's history book as an idea the former president initiated but failed to see through after the Senate at the time threw it away. But the former president is trying to rewrite, or if you like, correct the way the issue is written down in our history book. He had said this before, but this time he is saying it with much emphasis. He never ever wanted or lobbied to get a third term in office. He told our correspondent Gbenga Ashiru, who spoke with him recently in Abeokuta. He says the National Assembly, and not him at the time, on its own initiated the idea. Take a listen to what the former president said.
I never toyed with the idea of a third term.
So when did the report came from? It was so strong.
Yeah.
You were, until now, you were yet to deny.
I have denied it all along. I have denied it all along. But those who believe that their political fortune will be better served are the one. Look, there was the role of the National Assembly to amend the Constitution. Third term was one out of over 100 clauses that they wanted, that they included in that amendment. Over 100. And they initiated it. It was not an executive bill. So you are absolutely wrong. If I want a third term, that bill will have come from me. My liaison officer, Florence Itagiwa, told the whole world that, look, there was no day I ever call her and say, go and work for third term. Even Atiku, who said, some people told him that there was third term agenda. He hasn't mentioned the name of those who told him. Now, the people who are close to me, none of them will ever tell you that I told them, go and work for third term. Even Mantu, who was the leader of the Senate, and who, of course, is the one who has to present a bill emanating from anywhere, but this one emanating from the Senate itself. He was the chairman of the committee. He will never tell you. He has never said that I called him to say I want a third term. So all of you talking of third term are very unfair. And you are ill-informed, you are mischievous, and you are, I don't know what else I can call you. And I've also said that, look, I'm not a fool. If I want a third term, I know how to go about it. And there's nothing that I have wanted that God has never given me. If I had wanted a third term, I would have gone about it the way I should go about it, and I would have got it.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo there. Now, we have seen reactions in the newspapers over that comment. The headline reaction so far has come from the Senate President at the time, Senator Ken Nnamani, who said the former president told a blatant lie and that he was the chief architect of the third term agenda. He even made reference to a book by former U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice to back up his position. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, indeed, that Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, I should say, actually wanted a third term, and that he spent so much to get it actualized, but he actually failed. Let's now get reactions from some of the lawmakers who witnessed the whole third term drama unfolded and also saw its eventual death. Senator Olorunnibe Mamora, who is going to join us on the phone from Lagos, served as the senator representing Lagos East at the time and used to be the deputy minority leader of the Senate. He joins us on the phone from here in Lagos. And joining us from Abuja studio now is Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, who is the minority leader in the House of Representatives and is one of the principal actors who actually campaigned vigorously against the third term agenda back in 2006. Let me start with you, Senate Honorable Gbajabiamila. What's your reaction to what you just had the former president there? What's your reaction?
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to weigh my reaction very carefully, and I'm going to try and balance my outrage and my disgust with my cultural upbringing and stop short of calling the former president a liar. But let me say this from the onset. Like you rightly said, I was a principal actor. I was the face of the 2007 movement in the House of Representatives that fought vigorously against this third-term agenda. He said a lot of things that came as a surprise. First of all, personally, there's nothing like an executive bill. That's a creation of the executive. The separation of powers, it's the legislators that make laws, not the executive. So really and truly, in all constitutional amendments, we've always had the bills being initiated by the legislative arm of government. So to say that it was not an executive bill, it's basically splitting hairs.
So was the bill an executive bill?
The question that needs to be asked is who sponsored that item in the bill? The third term agenda was not a bill; it was an item in a bill. Who sponsored that item? That's the critical question that needs to be answered. It's like the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob.
All right, let me just pause you there, Honorable Gbajabiamila, and go over to Senator Olorunniyi Mamora, who is joining us on the phone from here in Lagos. Senator Mamora, you've heard the former president. Tell us what your take is on his comments.
President, tell us what your take is on his comments.
I mean, it's I don't know the right words to use. I think it's like starting the hornet's nest. Those of us, or some of us who are very active participants in an attempt to abort the third-term agenda, we do know, and I can say without any fear of equivocation, that contrary to what Chief Olusegun Obasanjo just said, I know some of his very close associates who were senators then and who were the foot soldiers in the Senate that confided in me that Mr. President, as he was then, President Olusegun Obasanjo, did tell them that he needed more time to achieve certain objectives, in his administration. And to that extent, he will require additional, number of years, as it were. I don't want to start mentioning the names of these people, but definitely at some point in time, some of us will mention the names of these people because they are still alive.
Let me ask you this now. That bill, I mean, you heard the former president say there that the bill was not initiated by the executive, that it was initiated by the legislature. Was the bill initiated by the legislature at the time?
You see, to even start with, don't forget, even at the Constitution Review Committee, there was very hot argument as to where even the move or that item came from, because in all our public hearings, I cannot recall at any point in time where this thing came up. So I'm saying emphatically that the members, our colleagues who brought up the issue as a result of the pressure on them from the executive.
All right, Senator Mamora, let me just ask you to hold on there. I'm going to come back to you. Let me go over to Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila in our studio in Abuja, I should say. Honorable Gbajabiamila, we've had the former Senate president come out to say money did indeed exchange hands during that period, that some senators actually got millions of naira. We've had figures mentioned like 50 million, 100 million and all of that. Tell me, Did you or did anybody make attempt at all to give you money to support the bill?
Well, let me say this. First of all, that's what makes the former president's assertion even more laughable. There was money spread around, 50 million, 100 million. I was approached. I was the face of the 2007 movement in the House of Representatives. I spoke with his foot soldiers. They came to me. I spoke with Bode George. He called me. You know, I will mention those names. I spoke with Florence Itagiwa, those who he has talked about. Monies were offered. Monies were seen in crates of CBN boxes. Now, how does a sitting president? Now, it's either you are inept and incompetent. Under your watch, a total of about 10 billion naira was moved from the country's treasury, and you claim or feign ignorance. A lot of money was spread around. Unfortunately, some of us stood firm. We refused to take this money, and we fought to the end and defeated that bill on the floor of the House. It is unfortunate. I will put this blame, what the president has done, the ex-president has done, I'll put it at the foot of the National Assembly itself. This is a man that should be tried, so to speak, for various offenses and that he did whilst in office. Breaches of code of conduct, having people pay towards his library while he was a sitting president, which is against our code of conduct and against our constitution. But because he is being shielded by certain members of the National Assembly, because the National Assembly has not lived up to his billing, he has turned around. The same people that are protecting him, he is now attacking them. It's very, but you know, there's a saying that the conscience is like an open wound, and only the truth can heal it.
All right,
I will advise Mr. President. I thought he was a military man. I thought he was a soldier. And from what I understand, at the last I checked, there's certain characteristics of soldiers. One, you're supposed to be fearless. You're supposed to have courage. But this, to me, is a cowardly act. But in a way, it's
let me just pause you there.
admission.
I'm going to ask you to just
pause.
The
third-term agenda was not a good thing. So I'll give him credit for that.
I'm going to come back to you, but let me go over to Senator Mamora in Lagos. Senator Mamora, were you by any chance at all offered money by anyone to support the third-term agenda?
I was not offered because apparently virtually everybody knew my own stand right from the onset. And I was one of the very few that were very vocal against the third-term agenda. And so it was very difficult to even approach me. But I had very close colleagues who told me that they were approached, and some of them told me that they received.
So some of these senators would have received money, but eventually did not support the idea.
Oh, definitely, because some of them even told me that look, this is free money, and so that there was no reason for them not to take it. You know, while some of us said, look, it would just be an abomination to take that kind of money because it was blood money, you know, as far as some of us were concerned. But some of our colleagues took the money, and they did, in fact, confide in us that they took the money.
Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, was it the case also in the House of Representatives that some members actually got the money, but, you know, even though the issue did not come to the House, but that some members actually got it and were actually determined not to support it even after collecting the money?
Listen, that's absolutely true. It got to a point where, because the money was so attractive to members, you know, members are human, we actually had to adopt the tactics of telling members, you know what, if you're so inclined, we wouldn't take it. But if you're so inclined, go ahead and take the money. But either do not show up on the day of voting, because the way the Constitution is, I mean, for you to amend it, you have to have a certain number, 2/3 of members of the House, not members present. So that was part of the approach we used. Take the money, but don't show up on the day on the floor, so they will not have the requisite number. And so there were various things that we did. We went to embassies. I mean, that's why it's so painful that the former president will come up and say he did not know anything about it. There's something called, even if you did not, there's something called accessory before and after the fact. Did you at any point in time, I heard him say that He has always denied it. Did you, at any point in time when the controversy was raging, did you come out, did you have a national broadcast, did you come out openly and say, hey, listen guys, I am not interested, do not do this? I don't remember him doing that. So it's like, you know, after the fact, he's now coming a year after, opening up a Pandora's box that's better left unopened.
Why do you
going to
think
be a lot of us who are very upset, who risked our lives, are going to come out swinging?
Why do you think the former president is coming up with this now? Why do you think he's denying it? Why do you think he's refusing to own up to something if he actually initiated it?
Like I said, I think it's a very cowardly act, but I think he's actually trying to put himself now, at the twilight of his life, in the right side of history. The good thing about this, what I can take away from this, call it a spin or whatever you want to call it, is that the former president has unwittingly admitted that the third term agenda was not a good thing. That's what I think he has done. That it's not a good thing, it was not a noble thing. But for him to now cap it and say very arrogantly too that if he wanted it, he would have had it. I think that's the height of collective. It's an insult to the collective intelligence of Nigerians and to the collective intelligence of members of the National Assembly.
Senator Mamora, do you think if the former president wanted it, as he said there, that he would have gotten it?
Appointed at our head at that point in time, we will not budge, we will not change our position, and we had that number. And when it was obvious, that was about a few days to the date on the matter, one of the foot soldiers approached me personally and wanted to know from me what I felt could be done. And my advice to that person was, go to Mr. President, President Obasanjo. That was a Thursday. Ask him to do a national broadcast over the weekend, and I even suggested a Sunday night, preferably, to come up and categorically deny his interest in that thought, and that will reduce the tension, because there was so much tension all over the country then that would be statesmanly for him to come up and address the nation to say categorically that he was not interested, and that would have brought down the tension, the heat, hovering over the entire nation at that point in time. And it was not done. It was not done.
All right.
But he would never have got it, because we were determined and we had enough number of senators who had signed on not to let the bill pass.
Not even when he said God would have given it to him.
Well, anybody can mention God for whatever purpose. God is not a God of injustice.
All right, thank you very much, Senator Mamora, for talking to us. Senator Mamora, who used to be the Deputy Minority Leader of the House. And from Abuja, I want to thank you very much, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, for joining us on the program and for sharing your thoughts on this whole third term issue. Thank you very much. Well, two gentlemen there, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila of the House of Representatives and Senator Olorunnibe Mamora, who used to be the Deputy Minority Leader of the Senate. Now, I have a panel here that will weigh in on that will actually weigh in on that issue. But just before I bring in my panel, one more story about the former president. Recall that early last week he abruptly announced his resignation as the chairman of his party's board of trustees. Now, the resignation was not only abrupt, it was unceremonious as well. There are even insinuations in some quarters that the former president had to leave because there were plans to remove him from the position as part of the overhaul the party wants to carry out. Again, here is how the former president responded to the subject in that interview with our correspondent.
Ceremonious. What is unceremonious? What will be ceremonious? That I will call a parade and say, I am now resigning? What is ceremonious? You see, this is the type of language that you use that really get me worked up. I'm furious. Look, I said in my statement that, look, I believe in my original, or in my profession as a military, we talk of 2 down. That is, if you are a divisional commander, you will look not only at your division, you will look at the leadership of the brigade and the leadership of the battalion. That's 2 down. I said, in my own exercise, God has given me the opportunity to bring about my successor, 1st down, and my successor's successor, 2 down. I've completed my 2 down. And if you want to go beyond that, I have also participated in 1 national convention and 2nd national convention. 2 down. So what more do you want me to do? And I have warned everybody at the state level of my party, at the zonal level of my party, at the national level, even at the BOT itself, as far back as a year ago, that I will be resigning. I will have done it immediately after the election. I was persuaded, please. And then, okay, I will wait until the national convention. So, what ceremony do you want? I will go and take a golden pen to sign? Now, come off it.
Well, from the horse's mouth there, with this development, the PDP will now begin to shop for another BOT chairman. Now, spokesman of the PDP, well, we're going to try to join him later. Actually, the spokesperson of the PDP will be joining us on this program later. But for now, let me bring in my guest to discuss some of these issues we've actually highlighted right from the beginning of this program. Well, sitting right close to me is Chido Onuma, who is a journalist and also an author. He's actually written a book titled, this is the title of the book, Time to Reclaim Nigeria. And I also have a lawyer with us as well as a political analyst, Mr. Ikechukwu Ikeji. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Let me start with you, Chido. I have read your book. You wrote extensively on the issue of 3rd term. And now you just heard the former president, what he said about it. I mean, looking at what he said and then try to reconcile that with what you've written in your book. What are your thoughts?
Thank you. I don't know what the former president hopes to achieve by the statements he's made in the last few weeks. I think it's a serious distraction that this country can afford at this critical juncture of its development. Everything that happened, everything that happened during the 3rd term agenda, so-called, point to the fact that, the former president knew what was happening. He supported it, his body language and the statement. And I see a kind of relationship between what happened there and what we've witnessed as far as the church issue, church gate, if we want to call it that, surrounding the current president.
That's an issue we're going to discuss in the course of the program.
So I think maybe because Obasanjo did not go out of his way to say, I want a 3rd term agenda, it's convenient for him to come back a few years later to revise history and say, I did not want a 3rd term agenda. Based on my own research and based on the statements by those who were close to him then, I guess what happened was that he had indicated, which was another way of saying, I want a 3rd term, without coming out clearly to say, I want a 3rd term. He had indicated by making statements like, I need some time to finish the good work I had started. I need some time to groom the person who will succeed me. So that was the body language, and his foot soldiers, carried on from there. So you had the likes of Adesheye Ogunlewe, who was the former works minister, Fani Kayode, who was his assistant and later a minister, Bode George, of course, and so many others. You had the likes of Buka Abba, former governor of Yobe State. And during the program, I hope we'll have the opportunity to, tell the audience some of the things, mind-boggling, I must add, that were said during that period.
Well, I'm going to give you time. Just get those things. I'm going to give you the time to say those things. But let me go over to you, Mr. KG. What's your reaction to this? Do you find this in any way surprising?
Of course, I can't find it surprising because we live in a terrain, a public space where there is poor code of conduct standards. Were it to be that we live in a space where there is strict adherence to good code of conduct and moral standards, it will be very, very, very difficult for a former head of state like Obasanjo to throw back at us something that we all already know exists. We have proof, evidence. Okay. Like you rightly pointed out earlier on, the Condoleezza Rice.
The book by Condoleezza Rice.
Yes, this is the book. I have it here by Condoleezza Rice. That was the Secretary of State of the United States from 2005 until George W. Bush finished his term. This book, if you permit me, I'll read.
No, please go
ahead. Yes, page 638 of the book by Condoleezza Rice, titled No Higher Honor, written in 2011, last year. The first paragraph of that page 638 says, and I read, the president, now talking about George W. Bush, recalled his discussion with Mandela many times. In 2006, when President Olusegun Obasanjo of Nigeria sidled up to the president and suggested that he might change the constitution so that he could serve a third term, the president told him not to do it.
That is the president of the
United States telling Obasanjo not to do it. You've served your country well. Now turn over power and become a statesman, he said. I'll continue. After a strong public rebuke from the United States and condemnation of his efforts by the international community, the Nigerian Senate rejected the constitutional amendment proposal that would have allowed Obasanjo to serve a third term. This is coming from the American Secretary of State. And we know how America plays a role in some of this international politics. So for OBJ to throw it into our faces, into Nigerian faces, he is playing on our collective psyche, on our collective intelligence, and it should be thrown back at him that he should withdraw it and apologize to Nigerians. We respect him as an elder statesman. He has served this country to the best of his ability. But it will amount to disrespect, dishonor by himself to himself, not to tell the truth, like Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that name properly, said, as people that were well trained, we may not tell him that he is lying, that Obasanjo is lying, but we can still tell him that he is not saying the truth.
Okay, let me just ask you to hold on there and come back to you, Chido. You were going to read certain things, some of the key actors now, some of those who were rooting for third term for president, the former president at the time said. I'm going to give you the opportunity now to just probably take a few of those.
Okay, maybe before I get to my book, there is an interview here by General Danjuma in The Guardian, and this dated February 24, 2000. Yes, and he recounts his meeting with former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Andy Uba had arranged the meeting, and when he came, Obasanjo spoke for about 30 minutes and told him why he had called the meeting and why he needed more time for him to continue in office, because he was having trouble with the former Vice President Atiku. He needed time to groom his successor. So this is virtually everything he told me about Atiku. He had told me before. Atiku did this, Atiku said that, and for that reason he realized that he could not hand over to Atiku, and so he would need time to induct the new vice president.
You're quoting Danjuma now.
I'm quoting Danjuma in the Sunday magazine of The Guardian, and he says induct the new vice. He would need time to continue. He would need time to induct the new vice president for one more term so that he could hand over to him. So I think this was what actually happened then. Those who were around the former president saw the body language, had heard talk like this, that he needed time to finish. So if you permit me to go,
please go on.
Yeah, I have the time to go through. So here you have on page 36 of my book, Time to Reclaim Nigeria, the quotation from Adeseye Ogunleye says, there are 72 ongoing projects, 56 newly designed roads, and they are very critical to the economic survival of the nation. They can never be completed before 2007. We will lose about 300 billion, that's about 2 billion, the equivalent of 2 billion naira, and Nigeria would suffer. And Bode George had come.
And I should say this was coming not quite long before then. Chief Ogunleye had been reported to have raised the issue at one of the FEC meetings where he told the president not to go for a third term. Then the president wasn't happy. This was when he was handing over to someone, and so he had to change his position there.
Exactly.
And here you have Bode George, who was the deputy national chairman of the PDP at that time, and he said the time to change pilot, if need be, is when you are at the cruising level and not during a stormy takeoff. For now, we are yet to reach the cruising level in our democracy, and we needed OBJ. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. You had the statements by Femi Fani-Kayode, and also the one by, I think, the former governor of Bukka Abba. And here, Bukka Abba was emphatic.
Bukka Abba Ibrahim, the former governor of Yobe State, who is now senator.
And there is no way you would make this kind of statement in a democracy without the backing of the #1 citizen. And this is what Bukka Abba said. No individual or groups and political parties in the country can stop Obasanjo from achieving the third term agenda. And he gave 15 reasons for backing the tenure elongation for Obasanjo. So I think it was clear from the outset that those around Obasanjo read the body language clearly, and that they knew the president wanted it, but he couldn't come out to say, I wanted a third term, and they...
But let's just switch gear now very quickly, and I want you to react very quickly.
Yes.
His resignation from the PDP Board of Trustees, you think it's the end of an era for you, for the PDP, and the beginning of something new?
I think so. I think it's the end of a new era in PDP. I think it's the beginning.
End of an old era, you mean?
Yes, it's the end of an old era and the beginning of a new era. And an era, I think, that may usher in so much more honesty in the polity, because I can sit here to tell you that during the Obasanjo era, we had deceit. Deceit was a given. It was part of governance. Nigerians were being deceived. Party members were being deceived. Everybody was being deceived. So long as it goes well with whoever is deceiving. And we saw a lot of situations where very openly there were open breaches of the constitution, open breaches of moral standards, open breaches of people's intelligence. And we had to swallow all of that. Presently, I think that PDP has a duty, being the ruling party in Nigeria, to now search within itself and give to us a good leader, a chairman of the BOT that has strong moral character.
You're talking as if the leader of BOT of PDP is the leader of the country. But let me get your position. Yes. What's your take on that?
I really don't think it would make any difference. I mean, we're talking about the PDP here, a party that Nigerians collectively have had the misfortune of being saddled with since 1999. So nothing's going to change whether Obasanjo remains the head or leader of the chairman of board of trustees of the PDP, or he resigns. I mean, what's the role of the chairman of the board of trustees? Any other person coming that role within the kind of politics that PDP plays wouldn't make any difference. And I think we haven't heard the last of this. Perhaps Obasanjo is not telling us the real reason why he left. Maybe he has something up his sleeves. Maybe he's strategizing for 2015.
Well, he says he wants to take up he wants to concentrate on international.
Well, that's what he says. I would like to say good riddance to bad rubbish, but I hope his leaving the PDP would also mean, that we'll see less of him in terms of his involvement in politics.
Some people are now dubbing it Churchgate. That's the decision by an Italian construction company to renovate the home church of President Goodluck Jonathan has now become a very hot political topic in the country. The president recently publicly commended the construction firm for renovating the church, which is in his hometown of Otueke in Bayelsa State. But the opposition ACN reacted to the gesture of the Italian firm by calling on the National Assembly to commence impeachment proceedings against the president, accusing him of breaching Section 6 of the Code of Conduct for Public Officers as contained in the first schedule of the 1999 Constitution and the Code of Conduct and Tribunal Act, CAP, C-15 laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004. Now, the Act states, and I quote, "A public officer shall not ask for or accept any property or benefits of any kind for himself or any other person on account of anything done or omitted to be done by him in the discharge of his duties. For the purposes of subsection 1 of these subsection, the receipt by a public officer of any gifts or benefits from commercial firms, business enterprises, or persons who have contracts with the government shall be presumed to have been received in contravention unless the contrary is proved." Now, the ACN argues the president has fallen foul of that law and should be impeached. But the presidency has also reacted. Spokesman of the president, Reuben Abati, issued a statement saying, quote, "It should be clear to all knowledgeable and discerning Nigerians that these allegations are nothing other than another mischievous attempt to denigrate President Goodluck Jonathan, cast unjustifiable aspersions on his personal integrity, and distract him from the serious business of governance." The statement went on to deny the president solicited or received any bribe from the firm, arguing that what the firm did was simply a case of performing its corporate social responsibility. He added that the church itself is neither owned by the president nor his family, pointing out that it belongs to the Anglican Church and the community. Mr. Lai Mohammed, the spokesman of the ACN, and Mr. Olisametu, or Chief Olisametu, I should say, the spokesperson of the PDP, now join us on the program by phone. Let me start with you, Chief Olisametu. Tell me what your take is on the position of the ACN. Yeah, just tell us what your position is on the take of the ACN, calling for the impeachment of the president.
I think this matter is being overflowed. This matter is being propagated and by ACN as a way of distracting the government. The issues are very clear. First, the president never solicited for anything. The facts have been made very clear now. The community, when the president lost his father, when he was vice president, solicited for friends of the president to assist them in renovating. Only renovating the church. And this company was one of the people that offered to help. Now we live in Nigeria. We are witnesses to a lot of companies, even government officials, not to talk of private companies, assisting when it comes to building mosques, not even innovating when it comes to building and building churches or Catholic Church or National Economical Center. Why is this one being so special? Do we have anything special against the church or the people, or is it just a way to get at the president? You see, for me, for the party PDP, we have decided to allow certain criticisms of the ACN to be answered by the Southwest PDP, because we know that ACN, being almost the regional party, have decided to be attacking the party in power by picking holes in every single thing. Why would the ACN concentrate on the monies being donated by their state governments, their local governments, that is donated to their leader, Tinubu, during his birthday? by the ACN. That's what they should focus on.
Do you have any proof that? Do you have any proof at all that any governor contributed towards the birthday of the former governor of Lagos State?
It's for the EFCC to investigate. We all are aware, and we've heard that even our Southwest CDP, they've issued statements on it. We expect the relevant agencies to investigate this matter because it's a very serious matter.
All right, Chief Olisametu. Let me.
The issue of the community receiving something or for a religious benefit.
I'm going to ask you to hold on there. Let us go over to Chief Lai Mohammed, who's actually standing by to speak to us on the phone, also on another line now from here in Lagos. Chief Lai Alhaji Lai Mohammed, you heard Chief Olisametu, the spokesperson of the PDP. Tell me what your reaction is to what he has just said.
Well, I heard Chief Metu, but he's just beating around the point. All we said was the president himself admitted to have solicited and accepted from a company that does business with government to build or renovate a church in his hometown. And this is clearly a violation of the relevant provision of the Code of Conduct Act. You see, this is a strict liability offense. Intention is absolutely irrelevant in this matter. And all we have said so far is that the president has breached the Code of Conduct provision. And in our Constitution, the president enjoys immunity. Only the National Assembly can act as check and balance, check and balance, against the presidency. What we have said so far is without any malice. We did not fabricate the story. The president himself admitted this openly, and every defense so far is not an attempt, to cover up. First of all, we are told it is not the president that asked for the building; it's actually the community. Then we are told it's not a construction; it's a renovation. The construction company also came out with a full-page, advert 2 days ago, contradicting what the presidency is saying. Now, after the issue of whether somebody donated money or not for Tinubu's birthday, I think it's completely besides the point. We are talking about the president who admitted openly on his own, without anybody, prompting him, that he has violated the Constitution. So what are they talking about? Why are they comparing apples and oranges?
Let me go over to you, Chief Olisametu. You think this is a case of comparing apple and oranges, as Alhaji Lai Mohammed pointed out there?
It's a simple case of looking at an honest man, someone who is very sincere, someone who has integrity, who shows transparency in his statements. That is the president. But his statement should not be misconstrued. His good intentions should not be maligned. He should not be maligned for his good intentions. Now, I'm happy that the spokesperson for the ACN has really accepted that the president...
I'm sorry, Chief Olisametu. Can you just turn down the volume on your TV set? Just turn down the volume.
Okay, I'm happy that he has accepted that the president is very sincere in his statements and is a very honest person. That is different from the issue of ACN or Tinubu always doing cover-up when they are being accused of issues. You see, while our own is in the open and we made substantive defense of it, there is an attempt to cover up the sins and the crimes of the leader of ACN and the government in the ACN and the people of ACN. The party has not been transparent in their affairs. They have not been transparent in the ways they handle their party or the way they handle their government. And it's shown from the days of growth in the National Assembly from the issue of qualification, from the issues of every single thing. They have not been very transparent. But we're dealing with a president who has been very transparent, very honest in his dealings, and he stated exactly the true position.
All right.
Now, do not import anything to the good intentions of a man who has shown he's a very, very honest person in his dealings with Nigerians.
All right, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, I'm going to give you the chance to respond to that. You have the final say.
You see, DG, I don't understand what we are trying to defend. If a thief admits to stealing, is that a mitigation? Mr. President admitted that he has violated the Constitution. Does that make him an honorable person? Meanwhile, there are only allegations. What allegations as to who contributed to Tinubu's birthday? And the difference between Tinubu and the president is that one is a public officer, the other is a private person. And in any event, anybody can sit in one corner and concoct stories. All these are in the realms of, speculation and allegation, as opposed to Mr. President himself admitting openly that he has violated the Constitution. So I don't know what the brouhaha is all about. No good advert can sell a bad product. Those who are in Mr. President, I think they have to do a lot of more work. Otherwise, there will be many more gaps.
But do you really expect the National Assembly to commence impeachment proceedings? Do you see that happening?
No, you see, all we have done, we have pointed out that the president has violated the Constitution and has an impeachable offense. Right. And the honorable thing to do is for the National Assembly to commence impeachment. All right, thank you very much. So or not is irrelevant.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Alhaji Lai Mohammed, the spokesperson of the ACN, and earlier we were joined by the spokesperson of the PDP, Chief Olisa Metuh. Let me bring you guys in here. Let me start with you. You are the lawyer here. Tell me what your take is on this. You think the president has violated the code of conduct?
Well, there won't be a direct answer to that, whether he has violated it or not, because the denial on the part of government is a technical denial, because a straight view of the provisions of the Constitution, the Code of Conduct provisions of the 5th schedule, part 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, will reveal that there has to be a personal benefit to the person receiving, to the president in this case now receiving. So the technical denial in this sense is that it was given to the community, to his community. But you and I know that that is as far as it goes, because what your community benefits can also play on your mind.
Can't we also say that, well, it was given to his community because the president is from that community?
Exactly. That is it. The principle of conflict of interest, as a lawyer, the principles of conflict of interest are not closed. We have had several openings. It's been an open-ended situation of conflict of interest, because what we have seen previously is that people have tried to interpret conflict of interest in stereotype proportions, so as to say, okay, this is conflict of interest, this is not conflict of interest. But where there is a likelihood of moral affectation to a person's conduct in relation to another person, there is a possibility of conflict of interest. The question you may ask here now is not all about Jonathan. It's also not all about supporting the ACN, or also saying that ACN is right in its own ways. But the question you ask presently is, would GCG, Gizo Costruzioni Generali Construction Company,
Italian firm,
would that company at any point in time approach an influential member of the Otueke community, an influential member of the Otueke community who has some forms of influence on Jonathan, and that person will refuse GCG any of his requests?
Chido, we've seen this before. I mean, during the Obasanjo Library saga, so to speak, and now we're seeing it again. You're a journalist. What do you think?
My initial take on it is simply that it's morally reprehensible. I don't see any reason why the president of a country would even get entangled in this kind of situation. But this is Nigeria, and what people tell you that, well, this won't be the first time, it's happened before. It's a dangerous slippery slope. I don't know how they want to spin this. But as I said, it's happened before. We've had situations where companies and private individuals have contributed to presidential structures, whether library or buildings or something.
All right, I want to get a senior lawyer to react to this. Professor Ishe Sage is joining us now on this issue. He's joining us on the phone from Lagos. Professor Sage, what do you think? I mean, the call by the ACN to impeach the president over the church gift, so to speak, you think it's right? You think the president violated any law now by accepting the gift, which we've been told now is just a mere renovation?
Yes, I think there was a violation of the Code of Conduct provisions, but I don't think it is serious enough for an impeachment.
Why?
Well, I believe the president was naive. The idea of having a church renovated and so on for his people, in other words, thinking of the religious benefits to his people, must have been prevalent in his mind. I don't think it was done with corrupt motives.
What makes you say so?
Because normally when this sort of thing happens, the contractor actually constructs a building or some other thing which is beneficial to the government official concerned, to the politician concerned. In this case, the president has no personal benefit in this matter. A church belongs to everybody who belongs to that religion, and does not enhance his material well-being in any way. So I can look at it as a very naive act.
And that the president should have known better, right?
He should have known better, because this is a man who is surrounded by professionals. He has this press relations man who is very loquacious. We have the Attorney General, we have lawyers all around him. These are things for which he consults the people around him, these professionals around him, before taking any step. Because when you are in the position of a president, you're in a very sensitive position. What others can do and get away with, you cannot do. And so, obviously, he made a very serious mistake in getting into this church business without consultations with the professionals around him.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Ishe Sage, for those wonderful insights. Professor Ishe Sage, there, Professor of Law and a Senior Advocate of Nigeria. You concur with him?
Yes, I concur completely with the Prof, the learned Silk. I think it was naive on the part of the president. I also think that it's as a result of the poor advisors, poor pool of advisors that surround Mr. President. We saw such situation play itself out during the fuel subsidy removal problem. We saw that it was as a result of poor information management, poor advising as to how to throw steps that would affect people, and we saw how it resulted in bad image for the government. I think it is the same situation that has played itself out now. I think that there is a breach. You can search into the books, and you find out that there is a breach of the code of conduct in that particular instance of the company, giving that gift to the community that the president belongs to. But I also think that it is not, it shouldn't reach the point of impeachment. Sure. I also think that the president also needs to re-examine the steps that he takes with a view to getting better advisors around him.
What do you?
I think it goes beyond the issue of being naive. I mean, there's the allegation out there by the former governor of Bayelsa State that a construction company that is involved in the state was building a house for the president. So it goes beyond. This is Nigeria. We know, we've seen things like this in the past. The president knew exactly what he was doing, and he made this statement, except that he didn't think that he was going to create this kind of public uproar. But in terms of him being naive and not knowing, I mean, things like this go on. It's become a norm in governance in this country, and let's not excuse it by saying the president
So what should be done then? Impeachment is the way to go?
Well, I don't think impeachment is the way to go. I mean, it's enough, because he probably won't be impeached, considering the fact that his party leads in the National Assembly. I don't think that's possible now. But I think it's certainly enough to say that the issue is out there, that Nigerians understand what's going on, and people are aware, and that's enough. And let's hope that that can help change the focus of the debate around issues like this. And for anybody to also come out to say it's a case of corporate social responsibility, I don't know if this company has any business in Bayelsa State.
Okay.
I think they have a road construction somewhere in Lokoja, and so, and I'm sure people.
We also understand they have construction. They have road construction in Bayelsa.
Anyway. Okay. People in other parts of the country where could do well to benefit. I think one last thing I might add is also the ACN, and this time I'm not talking about the Action Congress of Nigeria. I'm talking about the Anglican Communion that has joined the fray, they should come out. I mean, we saw how vocal they were on the issue of gay marriages and gay priests and all that. I think
they should come out.
Yeah, they should come out and condemn rather than supporting issues like this.
I also want to add just a minute.
We've run out of time.
Yes.
Very briefly.
Very briefly.
30 seconds.
Nigeria, we need to learn the culture of resignations by our public office holders, where things have happened and they don't happen so well. The public officials should learn to honorably resign.
You are not suggesting the president?
No, I'm not suggesting. It's just I'm throwing it out there. The Hungarian president did resign recently for plagiarism that has not been proved.
All right. Okay, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the program. Thank you very much for your contributions. That's it on the program tonight. We thank you very much for watching. We're back again next week. Until then, I am Deji Badimasi. Continue to stay tuned to Channels Television.